The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
Okay, welcome back to It's Just Coffee, guys.
It's just coffee.
It's just coffee.
It's just coffee, I think.
Yeah, I'm one of the hosts, Kirk Pearson, and this is one of my co-hosts,
Rohan Cook. Hi, great to be here. Excited to chat. We've got an amazing guest here with us today.
Hang on. Introduce it properly. Today's our first Rockstar shift.
Oh, our first Rockstar shift,
so we
exactly.
got for the first Rockstar shift, we have Hany Ezzat from Oda Coffee in Canberra.
Yay.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's been, a year or two in the making, I feel like.
Yeah, so Hany and I have been trying to do a podcast together for some time. Now it's finally happening. Rohan and I have, of course, we launched into superstardom from our podcast before. We won't get into all the Zelda stuff. We're gonna talk about coffee because it's just coffee.
It's just coffee after all.
It's just coffee.
And what's really exciting about this is episode 2 on the list, but this is actually episode 1. This is the first episode that we're recording of our new podcast. So, you're here as our first guest ever. How does it feel?
It's been a pleasure to pop either of you guys cherries for the It's Just Coffee podcast.
All right.
The coffee cherry.
Yeah.
All right, explicit sticker going on this episode.
Straight off the bat.
But welcome. No, seriously, and thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. I suppose let's get straight into it. The reason why we've asked Hany on is that he's an esteemed coffee professional, works out of Canberra. Canberra, for those who don't know, surprisingly, has quite a budding coffee scene. A lot of people think Melbourne is the best coffee in Australia, perhaps even the world. I don't know. I really think Canberra's coming close. Would you agree? Do you agree? Are you going to have a spicy take for us?
Wait, well, here's the hot take. Here's the extra hot take with 2 sugars.
Oh, this is the first one. So this can be 1 sugar. The next one can be 2 sugars.
2 sugars, yeah.
Your comments?
I've had actually a lot of people ask me in the last couple of days where I think the best coffee is. I would say the best concentration of coffee is definitely going to be in Canberra, hands down.
Oh.
But in saying that, some of the best coffees in my life I've had here.
Okay.
But you've got pure concentration. There's a lot of things that you
define.
You got to sift through a lot here
for this purpose.
What do you mean the good stuff?
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, what do you mean by concentrated? Like, you can go more. Most cafes in Canberra, your average coffee will be better than Melbourne.
Totally. So Canberra's a bit of Canberra's a small country town. If you didn't know, about 500k population, and it's very much known and honour town. And we have 2 to 3 other major roasters there. But the standard there, is because there's only that many roasters, everyone kind of pins against each other, that the general standard, and everyone kind of goes in between each other, the standard of skilled baristas and really good coffees is at a really all-time high level. So I think just based off coffee to coffee, cafe to cafe, on average, I would say the coffee tastes better over there.
Huge take. The coffees are better at Hungry
Yeah,
Jack's
I knew you were going to say something controversial to start off. Didn't know you'd go that far, but
Yeah, but if we're talking the official best coffee, I always go off whoever the most recent champ is. So I reckon the best coffee's here in Melbourne, right?
I mean, shout out to Jack Simpson. Hey, we'll try and get him on too. Rohan, did you have some questions for?
Absolutely, I actually have some questions for both of you because if we're talking about it, you both just competed in the Brewers Cup. Hany, taking out 2nd place, huge, great effort, congratulations, amazing. I mean, coming into that, you just kind of have to ask these questions what does it take to kind of enter a competition? When do you start prepping for that? How long does it take? What is the toll that it kind of takes?
Can I start this off here by just explaining what Brewers Cup is to the listener?
Oh, yeah, please.
So Brewers Cup is a fancy barista competition where you're making filter coffee and or drip coffee for our North American friends out there. Brew cafe for the Swedes. So basically just water coming out of a kettle onto what is lightly roasted kettle. and you have to make three different coffees for 3 different judges, or 3 of the same coffees, but 3 serves for 3 judges. And there's got to be consistency between the cups. You've got to say what the cup will taste like. They score you on that. Then they score you if it's actually good. Yada, yada, yada.
And this week we actually there was also the Latte Art Championship going at the
Latte
same time.
Art Champions.
Shout out Victor Vu.
Yep.
Amazing legend.
Love you.
And the barista comp as well.
And the barista competition won by Jack Simpson, good friend of mine. Good friend of the show, really. So Hany did a lot better than me in this competition at this competition. So you're more relevant now, so let's go to you.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from McDonald's, Popeyes, Pizza Hut, Wendy's, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a hamburger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
How did you feel post-competition about your results?
Yeah, well, I guess Brewers is one of those things. I kind of like explaining it to my friends. It's kind of like the Olympics of coffee. And it's also very much like a bodybuilding competition. Kind of when you get to the finals, everyone looks gorgeous. Everyone looks amazing. Their presentations are amazing.
Lots of fake tan?
Yeah, and it's really oily backstage. It's awesome. But yeah, basically everyone looks great, and you can't really tell who's going to win. It's going to be down to what they put in the cup. Yeah, I'm like super stoked. This year was like, one of my goals was just to do better than I did the year before. So like 3rd place 2 seasons ago, and then last season I went worse, finished like 4th or 5th, and then this season finishing up 2nd to the reigning champion, Mr. Tom Hutchins. Huge shout out.
If I was going to be an asshole here, you did just say that Canberra coffee is better than Melbourne coffee, and yet Melbourne coffee came out on top here.
Yeah, well, I guess there's that really fine line of like, I guess Tom's really good at making the compulsory coffee, which is an element of the competition, which is not the part that you see. It's a part where everyone gets the same coffee, water and grinder. So he's technically a better brewer than me.
Pound for pound, great brewer.
Pound for pound, one of the best brewers. And I'd also give him a massive shout out because the year before, he, I think, had the worst compulsory score out of everyone here. So he's done a massive improvement, and I kind of tipped my hat off because the other half of the presentation, which is the one most people saw, that was where I did the best in the finals day.
Right, so the compulsory is the section where you use the same coffee as everyone else, and then in the other round you have to bring in your own coffee and do your own brewing technique, is that right?
Yeah, totally. So the quality of coffee is completely different. Typically everyone gets basically it's quite a normal coffee in terms of specialty standard, something around that like 80 to 83 point mark, and you won't know how it's roasted until you are in front of the coffee, when you have about 45 minutes to use 350 grams and your knowledge to serve the best three coffees, identically the same. And forgive me, I'm probably going to have comp brain, which is a thing we could talk about as kind of when your brain doesn't work properly when you're doing a competition. I'm sure you're probably actually dealing with Jamie and Kirk. You probably notice a bit of comp brain.
Yeah. I mean, no, not at all.
No. Sorry, calling everyone out for comp brain. If you know someone's in comp brain, give them a little cuddle, then they'll need it most likely.
I've got a hot take here. It's like there's something about brewers. Like I kind of feel like outside of these things, I'm a somewhat cool guy. I like driving 4-wheel drives. I like going to UFC fights at the pub. I like doing things. I like drinking. I like all these things. And then you go around, gather around. It's like a coffee thing. So I'm imagining if anyone's here listening to like what's a coffee competition for the first time, it's like all these guys gather out in a room, making a whole bunch of nice filter coffees, sipping up sip by sip. And it's like, it's a strange thing, right?
Oh, and I have to say, as someone that's just a bystander who came in, was watching this thing, it is the nerdiest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it is amazing, and I love every second of it. But it is very nerdy.
Yeah, I would argue that it's like probably the most disconnected thing to like what coffee actually is based off the things that people serve in these competitions. Quite literally, no one gets to taste the coffee that gets served. You got those 3 people in front of you and maybe the team of that person. There's some people who have great quantities, but typically you're dealing with coffees that are on the pointiest end of the spectrum in terms of price point, accessibility, and also the preparation that people go to, like making water, making, like roasting the coffee to a specific age and time. And, there's a lot of things that you need to control. Coffee is like one of the most volatile things ever. And I find that maybe like the competition could be maybe like 5 to 10 years ahead of like maybe what people will be enjoying coffee.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry to butt in there. What would a cup of the coffee that you serve? So the objective is that you get a really nice coffee and you serve it. And sometimes these coffees cost hundreds of dollars per kilo green, so that's unroasted. What would a cup of the coffee that you served at Brewers Cup cost someone if they're going to a cafe typically? If it's well priced, if it's...
Totally. I have a great relationship with farmer Paul from Mikava Coffee. So he gave me a really good deal. In Colombia, the Centuria region. Used a geisha variety, which is one of the more sought after varieties and more expensive varieties. I think it's probably going to end up, if you do classic cafe breakdown of costing, you're going to be sitting around that $29 to $28 mark, and that's including my work on the water. For me, I wouldn't sell it. I'd kind of just give it to people because it's an experience and something that I couldn't quantify money for. I feel like people should just enjoy it, and it's about sharing it with people who it's more accessible. And I think for me, one of my biggest focus this year was I've got about 40 people that I know that don't do coffee to watch my coffee presentation and to see if they understood what the hell I was talking about. So if you go back and watch my prezzo, it's very digestible and hopefully like normal people can understand it. And that was kind of the purpose of the presentation, is to bring it back to my morning routine, to avocado toast, to also just showing people, a lot of people see what I do and go, what the hell are you doing? Making water for coffee doesn't make sense to anyone except the people in that competition.
Yeah. That's so interesting that you say that. I think with my Instagram account and channel and that kind of thing, I try to make everything super digestible in the way that it's done. And when I was at the Brewers Cup watching a lot of the presentations, it was such a deep dive into so many like nerdy things that only people would care. And I just kind of looked and I was like, is there a market for that? And I'm sorry, I didn't see your presentation in that. So it is really interesting but I was like, is there a way where you bring it down and just make it a little bit more digestible, and does that kind of flow and work? And obviously it does. I mean, not to the standard of number one, but number two.
Yeah, I'll get there one day. We'll get there.
Absolutely. My bet would be that next year is number one Brewers Cup champ right here.
Oh, awesome. Maybe you can peg me to win.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard some other people say.
Okay.
If you know, you know.
Spice it takes. You said something about water there, which I think would be interesting to the common listener here. There's a difference between getting water from a tap and then making a coffee with that than there is, crafting your own water. And we'll explain more about that in a minute. So if you're making a filter coffee, the typical strength is about 98.6% of the actual drink is water, let's say. It's usually maybe even a little bit more. So the quality of the water that you use is actually probably one of the biggest factors in whether or not you get an actually good cup of coffee, which I think is something that a lot of people would like to learn more about. Could you explain a little bit in your own words about...
Yeah, totally. There's definitely way more qualified people to talk about water and coffee, but... I'd like to give a huge shout out to Simon and Apex Water. He helped design my water composition for the competition. But different minerals will interact with your palate and the way you perceive coffee very differently. And I've found that, getting the right combination of those minerals is about kind of building the water. It's kind of, you start with zero, minerals or kind of composition. So you start with the water with almost zero minerals, and then you add based off... For me, how I like to do it is make a coffee with no minerals, and then I will add the minerals post-extraction and understand what each mineral does to the coffee, and then kind of make it as if you are using seasoning, kind of playing around with all the different spices and salts you have to quantify a delicious tasting coffee. But yeah, Mr. Simon is the wizard in that, and I think he really opened my eyes. I've been making water for coffee for years, but... I think in the way he's approached it and made it very digestible, it's completely changed my perspective on what it can be as well. But there's definitely way more qualified people to talk about water than me. But for me, on that level, it's amazing. And I think it's definitely worth trying if you're considering it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference that it kind of takes. We were playing around with it here, and magnesium for me was the one that was just like kicking it into overdrive. That was just like super delicious.
Yeah, pushing that vibrancy, right? Like kind of, I think what's really cool to talk about is some tests that I did. Hugh Kelly, who finished third in the Barista Championship, we did a little session tasting the water you drink before you have your espresso. Now we're going into the pointiest end of the spectrum you could possibly think. It's probably my favorite exercise. So we tested different minerals made up of just the water, and you would just take a sip of that water, wait 15 to 20 seconds, and then drink the coffee. And the difference that made was quite literally 30 to 40% different every single time.
Wow.
So even how your palate is prepped can make a massive difference to how the coffee is perceived. So hopefully we're going to have some really niche listeners here, and we're going to send them down that rabbit hole, and you're going to be out there talking to your customers going, drink this water before you have this coffee. It will very much surprise you how different it is. And then when you do it too much, it's not good.
I can't wait for the tradie in the cafe. Just give me my bloody coffee. It's just coffee, mate.
It's just coffee.
It's just coffee. What is the prep time like for this? Like, when do you start? Like, you've just finished. Are you thinking about next year? How long did you prep for this year? How much do you have to put into a presentation?
Totally. I think for me, it's quite a rolling thing. I kind of have months where I focus on it quite a lot. But for me, my styling is definitely like kind of that 1% better each day. So I'm kind of always doing my own coffee R&D, building my tools that I would use in the competition. But when we're talking particularly like, all right, it's time, I know that around this month we're going to see the competition. I'd need at least 3 months. For the qualifiers, I did like 1.5 to 2 months worth of like preparation, which went really well for me. And then I trained pretty much every day from qualifiers to nationals that just went past. But everyone's different. I think you need to find your style, but I would argue that like the work you need to put in on many fronts, not just coffee, particularly in presentation, and like there's a lot of personal growth that needs to happen. You need to think about how people are perceiving you. It's, like you said, it's just coffee, and coffee is subjective, and you need to learn how to deliver coffees in a way that you're going to make people feel comfortable. They're going to reward you. It's digestible. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what sometimes gets missed. And you see some of the best people in the world doing this. And you watch the presentation and it might seem quite simple. But to get to that simplicity and like back to your content, like I can agree that your content's very digestible but quite a complex topic sometimes. But that's what people need. They need that digestible. They need to feel comfortable. They need to trust you. And I think some people, they get that really easily. And some people, like myself, it's taken like 6-7 years for people to be like, oh, that looks like you're talking on the stage. Whereas like the first year I was so prepped and ready, and they told me I sounded scripted the whole time. And it was like they were attacking my personality. And it was like I was so angry and upset.
And you're like, it was scripted. Of course it was scripted.
Absolutely, it was scripted. I tried so hard. Like I tried my hardest, but it was just kind of like more of, you tried so hard to be like somebody else. And it's kind of like that's the personal growth of the competition for me, which is like, I guess, to round up if anyone's wondering how I feel about competition. It's always going to be about the journey. Oh, well, for that 1.01% that might care, it's definitely about the journey, getting to that stage and delivering what you want to deliver and the message and the impact that you have. The trophy is like more of like a compliment to maybe validify how you feel potentially. But for me, kind of, especially this season, this round, when I called time before I knew results, before anything, I just felt like every stone was turned that I possibly could. I trained as hard as I could, and I put everything on the table. And I also didn't miss out. I think years before, I kind of try to deliver the best experience in my nerves and the moment, and that it's a performance. So there's like, as soon as something goes up, you need to be able to adjust and be comfortable and have the practice. And that was something I left everything out on the table, and I delivered the perfect presentation that I believed that I could do. So it was kind of more of like the journey to get to that point for me. The personal growth was the biggest reward, and I think that's why I'm like, the trophy's amazing, but it's not the all.
There's something in that the listener can relate to as well. It's like you put in the work for something, and we're doing this podcast because it's just coffee. It's just coffee.
Definitely.
But something in that everyone can relate to. Like, I always feel like it's great to challenge yourself at whatever it is you do. You mentioned bodybuilding before. My brother's actually a almost professional bodybuilder. Like,
I saw a picture of him the other day. That dude is jacked.
yeah, if you want to look him
huge.
up, at Mike Pearson on Instagram.
Yeah, he's a fucking juicy.
I
motherfucker.
suggest you look it up.
He weighs
You wanna
100.
see
He
this.
weighs 150 kilograms, so it's like over 300 pounds, pure raw steel muscle. Like the guy's jacked, but he's been training since he was 17 years old. He's now 31. I don't even know. And he puts in all that effort, and that's bodybuilding. Not everyone's cup of tea. They look intimidating to some people on the street, but he's a very sophisticated guy, and he does really well in what he does. Some people do cycling, some people do boxing, some people do football, all sorts of things. Even though it is just coffee, we're kind of I like that idea of applying yourself and working, and there's an entire industry behind this as well. The coffee industry is worth, I think, $4 billion in Australia annually, and so it's enormous. It's a staple that we all can't live without. So it's kind of like, in a way, a coffee competition is kind of like, it's got almost as much reach as anything else because everyone drinks coffees, and all you have to do is drink a bad one and a good one to know how it kind of works, right? Am I just waffling on here? You look a bit. You should both say something here. But there's relatability in competition.
I lost the last 20 seconds of that.
Okay, right. I went on far too long. But
I'll blame the audio, but no, I just got too focused on pouring water.
But there's relatability in competition.
Yeah.
You do something, the process, you get the result, you get better for it. Could be bodybuilding, could be ballet, could be brewing coffee.
Absolutely, and I think this self-growth kind of side of it is like really special there. I thought that was really eloquent, like what you were kind of saying, and very noble, especially when you're talking about a competition and doing that, which leads into my next question, which now you seem like a chill dude, seem like a lovely guy. What is the level like of competing against these other baristas, these other sides? Like, it felt like it's obviously that was something that was quite self-fulfilling for you, but was that competitiveness there? Like, when I think about like sports, just like there might be mates out there when they're on the field, they just hate each other. They want to take them down and like win that. Is that in it for you guys, or is it a bit more chill than that?
I think anyone that knows me on a personal level, they know I'm like the most competitive person out there. Like, I don't want to lose an arcade game. I don't want to lose a game of pool. I don't want to lose anything. I use that competitive drive to get to the level that I've gotten to. But I always bring it back to the bodybuilding thing. It's like, I'm going to choose to do something and look this way and be in this box. And as long as I achieve everything I've set out to achieve, like, that's a win. Like, it's like you controlled your day. Coffee's volatile. Things change. Did you make good decisions? Did you play your cards right? The space that you're in, I think it's more of like, definitely if you frame it in the way of that personal growth, you're going to go a lot further in life. I think every year it was always about winning or dying. And every time I had that mentality coming into the competition, I wouldn't do as well as I possibly could have. Whereas this year was the first year I ranked first in Australia, and it was the first time I like was feeling really comfortable that I was presenting something amazing. This was the only year that the only thing I was focused on was becoming as much of myself as I possibly can and making my own decisions and my own calls, especially when it came to roasting and sourcing, and like delivering the coffee that I wanted to deliver. Because coffee is one of those things that's very subjective. You need to build a palate, and you need to understand other people's palates, and then you got to calibrate across different cities because there's different judges from different cities, and then on the world level it's a whole new thing.
Wait, different cities? How are you calibrating for different cities?
Oh, totally. Like, definitely I think about like, all right, really good example. Melbourne coffees on average are much lighter from what I've tasted, especially filter coffees. I don't get crazy intense punch you in the face filter coffees. I travel for work and I do quality control for my travel. So even I see my own coffee that's roasted the same being presented in different ways. when I go to Queensland. I feel like it's really iconic hearing the tram go past.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so everyone knows we're in Golden Brown headquarters right now, and we've just got Melbourne trams just going past, the dinging going on.
Love it.
So adding ambience, you know, to the podcasting experience.
It's just coffee.
It's just coffee, guys.
It's coffee. But yeah, that Queensland will present the coffee a lot more bigger and bolder.
Right.
Melbourne's a bit more lighter, refined. So kind of even the expression, like you're going to choose your expression of how you... The expression of coffee is something you want to choose as well. So.
And I also think that with coffee, there's also a side of like if you're talking about that state to state with punchier or lighter or that kind of thing, I think with like many coffees, it's also something you can get used to. So whether that's a style or a roast, I think there are some people out there who just love a coffee because it's what they've drunk from day one.
Totally.
And it's just what their palate's got used to. And so that's what good equals, you know?
Exactly. And that's that subjectivity. So kind of more of like deciding your plan is like, you know, this is the style of coffee I'd like to serve and I'd like to execute. I think if you can execute your plan and you leave it all out there, I think a lot of people finish the competition going, oh, I should have trained more. Oh, the judge did this. Or, oh, this. And it's like, if you decide to blame other people for your campaign, you're never going to get anywhere. I truly believe that. And people who blame other people for things going wrong or things not going the way they wanted to, I've even found myself doing that in the past. My journey's been a lot longer than most. I've been doing comp since 2017. So a lot of people don't know the first 2 to 3 years, I didn't even make it past a regional level. That's how bad I was. And I was always blaming someone else. And then I realized, well, I can't blame my roaster. He's one of the best roasters in the world. I can't blame people around me. I have to step up and do this myself and I need to be in control of everything. So like kind of, if you're blaming the judge for not assessing your coffee properly, well, that's your problem for making the routine so stressful or so uncomfortable for that person that they've made a mistake. Or you don't have time to correct someone else's mistake. You need to be in that headspace and frame of mind that people are going to make mistakes. People aren't going to do things perfectly, and the way you see the world is very different to the way other people see things as well. So kind of like, I think the best competitors, and when you get to learn to meet these people, you know, like I hung out with Tom today and I got to see the level of control he has, and it's like very similar to the level of control I would take for the competition. You know, you're calculating the time from when you've ground the coffee to like that 2 minutes and 35 seconds when you start pouring coffee on your water, like that time's calculated. That's the kind of level you want to be at and be in that control. He's like, oh, well, the judges didn't come out, everything was delayed. It's like, well, what have you put in place to be ready for that? So I think, again, just that personal growth, take control, be the person, and if you do all of those things and then it still doesn't work, well, then be better.
What a great answer. And then I have to throw to Kirk and be like, dude, are you going to be as zen as that and have such a deep answer? Or what was your kind of battle of like getting ready, competing against friends? Were you kind of fierce and hungry to kind of take him down, or?
Well, I was nowhere near as prepared as Hany was. I'll say that from the outset. I don't know. My feeling was one of our close friend of ours, Jamie Thompson, competed in the competition as well, and we actually just decided to do everything together. So he had his routine that was completely different from mine, but we decided to train together one by one. We'd do a practice run, and then, you know, clean up for each other, try each other's coffee, give each other the best feedback we possibly could. Because to us, it was kind of just like, well, I mean, you know, if one of us wins, that's great, and then we can support the other if they do. Whereas going back to bodybuilding again, I've been to the back of a bodybuilding show where my brother's preparing, and he's just stomping around. He's like, I'm just going to crush all you guys. And he does. So, like, it's not quite that, for me, it's not quite that Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan level of competitiveness when they were trying, you know, when it was Detroit and Chicago trying to get into the NBA finals.
I think the Australian community is quite connected. Like, I would say the top 12, everyone's buddies, everyone's out for each other. Of course, people want to win and people want to crush each other, but they do it with grace and style and their own way. So
yeah, and I don't think that anyone, from my experience being backstage and meeting everyone and that, like, it felt like it's kind of what you're talking about. Everyone just wants to walk away feeling like they put everything out there and did the best that they could do. and step away. It's those things where something goes wrong or you screw it up, where it kind of starts falling through and you start eating away at yourself after doing that. I know Jamie, who competed for Golden Brown Coffee for us, he did an amazing routine, amazing coffee. There was even like one thing where I think like his paper got like a little hole in it and a little sediment like went down into the cup or whatever it is, which, you know, is a big cross there in the judging and doing that kind of stuff. But outside of that, he made that coffee a million times. It had never happened. And he would walked away going, I did an amazing job. He scored super high on all the, you know, the tasting notes and that.
Yeah, and nothing really prepares you for the bright lights of being up there. It's like, you know, I feel like you need to go through multiple rounds of doing the competition to get the experience to be able to deal with it. So like nothing really prepares you for being in front of judges doing it. You can practice, but nothing really actually is alike in the preparation to what it is like on the actual day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's definitely a surreal feeling, and definitely like trying to perform and do everything you've practiced 1,000 million times, and then kind of how you're managing the adrenaline and the nerves can make you even say things you've never said before, pour things you've never poured before. I remember one year I did so many prezos and then I just completely forgot to do tasting notes.
Oh, right.
And I was like halfway through my prez, like, damn, I'm so good for time. And then my coach is looking at me going like, are you going to say tasting notes? And then I said tasting notes. By the time I finished, I was like 45 seconds over time. Like I was no chance for getting in anywhere. No. But like that's that was like I'd never gone overtime up until that point. But just kind of like, do you practice for something going well, something not going the way you need it to? Can you go and grab your spare and then do your prezzo and still fight through? I've seen people in barista comps preparing, someone will stop their shots halfway through their prezzo. Can they remake their shots and still make it within that 15-minute time frame?
I've seen someone do that. Jack Simpson did it and won in a regional competition.
Oh, that's what I want to see. Yeah. I'm feeling.
Yeah, Brewers is probably the most boring comp to watch, comfortably.
Yeah.
Like that's coming from someone who's done it. I'm like, I'm trying to watch someone else's thing and I'm like, all right, I'm going to learn so much. I'm going to do this. And like 30 seconds in, I'm like, all right, playback speed times 2 because this is boring.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, cool. This is still boring. And then they get into the tasting notes and I'm like watching like Jay-Z and Beyonce's love story conspiracy on YouTube. Like that's how quickly my attention would change. So I'm not really selling it that well.
But that's quick.
Now, the next thing I wanted to bring up, the world of coffee. I mean, I'm online with it every single day, seeing everything coming through. There are a million different tools and things coming out, everything from distributors through to like little wedges, through to different puck screens and that kind of thing.
Vibrators.
The coffee
Vibrators.
And then some of them good, some of them terrible, and everything in between. One of them that I think is quite good is a cup that you've been working on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good segue.
Great segue into that. Can you tell us a little bit about this cup? Because from my understanding, it's the idea that different lips and different shapes and different sizes are actually going to change the aromas, the flavour, the way the coffee hits your palate. And again, this is one of those things where I hear just it's just coffee.
It's just coffee.
Coming through the mics. But tell us about your cup, because I got to tell you, I used one and I was a little sceptical and I thought it was bloody awesome.
Oh, great. That's good. I think, it's a really powerful tool, and the placebo element's there as well because it just creates more want and need to know why. But the idea was born out of competition. So this is like one of my favorite reasons why I do comps, is kind of getting to that stage where that innovation happens. I really liked 2 different cups and then I ended up merging them. And funnily enough, Kirk was like deciding between those 2 cups for his competition. And I was like, that's why I made this cup. But, the original inspiration, after reading some Charles Spence books, he talks a lot about, it's like gastrophysics, which is like the science of eating, right? And he goes through a few different papers that I was online reading. The first thing was like relevant to shape. And if you didn't know that different shapes will help you perceive different elements of your beverage, doesn't matter what it is. So things that are round are always going to be perceived sweeter. Things that are straight are always going to be perceived more intense and more maybe acid forward. or sour.
So you're talking cup-wise about like having a long straight cup or just a round
Totally.
cup? The
Like a
perception is
round,
changing.
a round cup and a straight cup will change the difference. And to really like
Does
dumb
colour
it down,
come into it?
Yeah, colour, we'll go there.
Oh,
We'll go deep, don't worry. You're talking to someone who's been making cups
You're
for
talking
like
to
3
someone
years.
who loves cups.
Who's someone who, it's just coffee, but it's think about a champagne glass and a red wine glass.
I always am.
Are you a red wine or a champagne, or you're white or red?
A bit of everything. I'm a bit on the white train at the moment.
Yeah.
Dabbles.
Kind of going,
You dabble? You're flexible, right? Like you can go either way.
I'm liking, a Fiano at the moment, a little bit of skin texture coming in there. Delicious.
I love a bit of texture too. Yeah, that's good. Anyways, bringing it back. Wine glasses have different shapes, different sizes, different thicknesses, like you've seen every probably shape or form of wine glass, but coffee is still like always really far behind wine. But, no one's, from what I'd noticed, done cups that were like specifically focused on different elements of coffees. And then I got into this rabbit hole. I ended up working with a ceramicist in Canberra. The first thing I wanted to test was like which shape was the best for my coffee at that time. And then I ended up finding out more about this like straight versus round. And then the next thing was playing around with thicknesses and then realizing that changed the point of impact on my palate and my perception of the coffee quite a lot. And then I thought it'd be an amazing idea to...
Thickness of the rim?
Yeah, thickness of the rim. So like kind of like the lip, where you would place your lip, the way, like how thick that is. That was kind of like one of like the biggest breakthroughs for what my cups, or like my biggest point of difference with my cups is definitely the fact that there's an asymmetrical rim, meaning one side is thin and one side is thick.
Right. So yeah, as I had from this cup, one side of it is thin, one side of it is thicker, and as it kind of hits your palate, completely different experience from depending on where you drink from the cup.
Totally. So you get this, a few things will play into why it's different. It'll be how you place your lip on the rim and also on the rim, lip on the rim. It's always a lot of rimming and lipping, so...
That's drinking coffee.
Yeah, this is probably I'm a bit savage, but it's fine. Anyways, from the point you tilt it...
Kirk just sitting there.
You don't have to make everything sexual.
Yeah, see where my mind's at.
Anyway, the rim. Sorry, you were saying?
So a thick rim, for an example, the tipping point is a little bit higher because of the shape, how it's rounded. So typically you tip the cup a little bit more, so the flow rate becomes a little bit higher, and also there's a feature on my cups that's slightly slanted as well. It's very hard to see, but it's to increase the tipping point. And what ends up happening is like from the tipping point, a lot of coffee starts coming out into your palate. So more liquid hits the roof of your palate and it hits in more of a concentrated way. So this is always going to increase your perception of the body and the sweetness of the coffee. Like it's just how it works. People will try to drink it differently to basically say it doesn't make a difference. But especially from person to person, you're going to find that difference. But when you go on a thin rim, the tipping point isn't as high. When I say tipping point, it's like the point the liquid releases from the cup.
It's like when you're drinking something with ice and then the tipping point is when it finally comes flying out. And hits you in the
exactly.
face. Yeah,
exactly. So you get that like thin layer of coffee across the palate, highlighting more of the delicate parts of the coffee. You see more of a spread on your palate, very similar to what you do when you're cupping. So you're going to see a lot more of the delicate elements, the acid. Maybe if there's florals, they always seem to be elevated on that when we're talking coffee. But, I've seen people drink beers out of them and do all kinds of weird things, and they all seem to find and see the difference. So that's like the big point of difference for my cups. And we've had like 5 champs, second ranked in the World Brewers Cup last year as well. So like the trajectory for the cups, and they've been backed by the industry quite a lot. It's quite an exciting space to be in.
And soon the good listeners of the It's Just Coffee podcast will be able to buy these reputable cups from where?
Yeah, well, if you jump onto @NeWares or Mr. Barista Hany, he'll guide you there. Their cups will be landing in mid-March. Got 1,500 of them. I do expect them to be like hot cross buns.
I've shotgunned some for my shop.
Kirk has shotgunned some. I know I've got a lot of people I'd love to share them with as well.
I'll have to get you by the channel and do a little video explaining it. Get this going again in a short format.
Yeah,
Talk
exactly.
about lips and rims.
I've got some questions. The first one being, we're going to ask you for a hot take in a minute, but is this a perm? How do you?
Absolutely.
Okay, it is.
Nah, it's not.
Okay, so it's
I wish it
naturally
was.
naturally curly.
Naturally curly.
I thought this would be a lot funny. I thought you'd laugh, but okay.
No, that's
Yeah.
fine.
I got hit with the hot take, and my mind just started instantly turning of like, what hot take am I going to say? What
Holy
am I
shit,
gonna
is
say
it
here?
permed? Yeah, no, I think a lot of people want to know if it's permed, and sometimes I just fuck with them and say, yeah, totally.
There's a really good line on Starsky and Hutch, the remake with Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller. It's like, it's not a perm. Touch it. I was expecting you to know that. You didn't. Let's just move on.
Are you someone that gets furious when people constantly want to touch your hair?
No, it's fine.
Oh, you're not like that?
Do you want to rip in? Do you wanna have a
I'll
look?
give it a little boing.
Yeah, give it a boing.
Oh, that's got some recoil.
Yeah, we got some recoil. It's good to have some recoil.
You could get
okay.
those springs inside a machine up to
Totally.
pressure.
Now, I believe you did want to introduce one of our segments for the
Yeah.
day. I'll let you do it. Take the honors.
I mean, one of the segments that we want to talk about here, I mean, are we going to cut, we've got the guest here, we're doing that. We just love the segment of an extra hot take with one sugar. We want to know, what is your extra hot take on the industry, on coffee? Is it about competition? Is it about in cafes? What
Could
is
be
it?
anything. Could be anything.
Yeah, well, I think I was like thinking about this once we spoke about it, and I don't want to go like crazy high spicy level, but I'm gonna say something that a lot of people don't believe me on, but I think carafes are cancelled. That's the future.
Carafes are cancelled?
Yeah, carafes are
So
cancelled.
that's the little server.
Yeah, the server you drink into, like they've been fucking up your coffee for years. And I've come to learn this because I'm so deep on cups.
Please elaborate on how carafes are cancelled.
All right, so like I've been going deep on this. The only good thing about a carafe is that you can split it between your friends. But when you taste a coffee, I'm going to guarantee you do this at home. Brew a coffee into a carafe and then brew one straight into your cup. And then smell it first and wait till the steam airs off on the one that you brew straight into the cup because it's going to be hot. And if you need to get less steam, just raise the dripper higher. But then taste it and wait till it cools down and taste it blind. And the theory is, for me, is that everyone in coffee talks about volatile aromas. I want to get them all, right?
Got to catch them all.
Got to catch them all. But you're putting it into a carafe and then swirling it around and opening and airing it out. And then where do they go?
Out of the cup.
Out of the cup.
Or out of
and
the
then where
carafe.
do you taste them?
In your
And then
nose.
you actually split the beverage again.
Right.
And you've done it twice now because it's come from here to here and then you've swirled it. And then for whatever reason, you've swirled it quite a lot and you've let it rest there and then you pour it into the cup. And then you've made your coffee even worse. So cancel your carafe.
You heard it here first, folks. Carafes cancelled.
Is that a good enough hot take?
That's
I don't know.
It's just coffee exclusive. So
Carafes
next
cancelled.
year, what I'm hearing is next year your Brewers Cup competition is going to be that you're somehow going to extract the coffee into a completely closed sphere.
I've thought about it so much.
What about if it's an edible layer that you just...
I was thinking of putting
coffee
the
in
judges into a freezer so we can capture, like, judges step into my cool room
Yep.
and I have a table in the cool room and then we're in an air chamber, like a hyperbolic time chamber in Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, yeah.
And
Speaking my
Now you have
language.
my attention.
and then we're going to drink coffee in there.
Well,
And there's going to be no volatiles lost at all.
Well, if it was good enough to turn Gohan into a Super Saiyan 2, it should be good enough to make your coffee slightly better.
Yeah,
that's what I've always said.
Last question from me. You go into a coffee shop, what's your order?
What's my order?
What's your go-to order?
My
Yeah,
go-to
your
order?
go-to order.
Well, my first go-to order is avocado toast, like straight up.
Yeah.
Your cafe's status, it starts with the avocado toast, your basic dish.
Do you have a ranking somewhere online of like your best avocado toasts?
It's the best avocado toast. Cupping room, yeah. Canberra's definitely got the best avo toast. I've had a lot of really try-hard avo toast when I've been here. I'm not gonna call them out because that's just full Jamison Savage. I'm not gonna go there.
Nice pun.
Yeah, you get that. But if it's coffee order, man, I'm a milky man. As much as I love brewers, it's, when you start making some of the best filters in the world, you stop wanting to drink batch brew.
And this is the whole thing about being, it's just coffee. It's because you're supposed to say that when I say that.
It's just coffee. It's just coffee. Guys in the back.
It's just coffee.
Yeah, but everyone always says, "Oh, I just get a latte. It's probably not fancy like you baristas do." It's like, no, we enjoy the humble milky as well. Rock on. Well, that's all from me. Rohan, you got some concluding remarks?
I have no concluding remarks apart from what a pleasure to have you. You were so eloquent. It got a lot deeper than I thought it was going to get when talking about competing about coffee. I feel like now I'm going to level myself, be a lot more zen and find my self-purpose in what I'm doing. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks
Do you
for
have
having me.
where can people find you?
Find me on the gram, find me in Canberra, find me wherever I may be.
What's the at?
What's the Instagram handle?
At barista_Hany.
Hany. All right, yeah, it's been fantastic to talk Dragon Ball Z, talk coffee, talk bodybuilding, all those sorts of things.
We didn't go into the OnlyFans, man. So I guess we'll have to save that for next time.
That'll be for the next one. Thank you.
That's on a paywall.